I want to talk about Warren kind of spoiling a little bit Bernie Sanders last night, and what some of the talking heads, I usually ignore a lot of talking heads in Washington, but they did bring up some really good points over the past couple of weeks where a lot of people have been saying, hey, at this point, the progressive wing of the Democrat Party and the moderate wing of the Democrat Party really are two separate entities and need to be two separate parties.
Well, and is there a better way to, I think you're going to get to this, sorry if I interrupted, but just looking at how the days before leading up to Super Tuesday went for the centrist moderates.
Yeah.
And then but we can argue if Warren's a real progressive or not, right? But assuming she is, they got in line behind Joe Biden quick. People dropped out of the race and said, I support Joe Biden. I've given my undivided support. Elizabeth Warren, as we speak, is still reassessing her. Elizabeth Warren's still in the race. And I mean, I don't want to spoil too much, but Elizabeth Warren came in third in Massachusetts. She lost to Joe Biden. I mean, so did Bernie Sanders. But holy cow, do you think if Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren consolidated their votes, they would have beat Joe Biden? Oh, yeah, they would have by a lot. So it really does look like there's something that came down to it.
Yeah, and if you look at this race in a different way, if the progressives were their own party, okay, and the centrist Democrats were their own party, then Elizabeth Warren would be competing with Bernie Sanders. By this point, depending on how they did their party rules, to be the progressive candidate. And they would have won so many of these states. Because if you put Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren's votes together, and the vast majority of Elizabeth Warren's supporters, I do believe, would actually go for Bernie, because there's no reason to vote for Elizabeth Warren if you don't think.
I in a vacuum, ideologically, I agree. But it's not like every voter gets turned off. The nastiness and bad blood between the two campaigns, that's going to turn off some percentage of voters. So we're going to be like, you know what? I do like the stuff he believes in, but holy cow, man, I can't vote for that guy. It's going to be a smaller one because it's the ideological, I don't think ideological, but just like they have a lot of policies that are really remarkably similar, I guess is a better way of putting it. But still, it's just the bad blood between these campaigns, which is really shocking considering they were considered. I mean, I wanted to show this, guys. This was an article, and whenever somebody drops out of the race, I always like to go back and pull articles from not even that long ago. This one's from way back in August of 2019. I want to show you guys this.
Yeah.
August of 2019, Elizabeth Warren is described like this. I mean, just take about a Wayback Machine. Here we go.
Okay.
Maybe it was the fact that other top contenders, Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris, were all together at night two it led Anderson Cooper to ask Warren whether she would have rather been debating Bernie Sanders instead. Maybe it's because in the pool of top-tier Democratic candidates, they arguably fall furthest to the left, unabashedly promoting programs like Medicare for All and free public college. Either way, when asked, Warren told Cooper, Bernie and I have been friends forever, long before I ever got involved in politics. I went up to Vermont and did town halls with Bernie. I've given Bernie much of my work when the housing crash was coming, so I'm always glad to be anywhere with Bernie. Yeah. This is when she was considered a frontrunner. Here we go. This is my favorite thing right here. Warren and Sanders were, in essence, the Jim and Pam of the Democratic race. Now, I want to see if you guys remember another little moment between Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. Now, this happened also on the debate stage. They're talking about the debate stage right there, right?
Yeah.
But they had a couple big moments in the debate stage. There was basically the Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren debate. Do you remember that one? Where it was basically them sniping at each other for like the whole debate.
Yeah.
Well, one of my favorite moments happened after that debate. It was the first debate in January. And I'll run for you guys right here. Is this actually, yeah, we go. This is, I guess you could say, a cute little moment. Like, like Jim and Pam from The Office. So let's watch this. See what's going on. So we see Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren going up to each other after the debate. Bernie Sanders raises his hand out. Oh, sorry, I missed the beginning part where Bernie Sanders extends his hand to shake it. Let's go. Oh, no, never mind. The leaked audio, by the way, was, I think you called me a liar on the debate stage. That's what Elizabeth Warren said when she approached Bernie Sanders and refused to shake his hand. By the way, like I always say right here, shout out to Tom Steyer trying to get the Bernie Sanders love. Bernie, please notice me. I'm here. Bernie Sanders not having it and walked away. But it is interesting to talk about because we brought it before already. Now, Massachusetts, obviously, one, the race isn't over. Two, it's not like, oh, no, not Massachusetts. How could I ever survive losing Massachusetts with Bernie Sanders? But for Elizabeth Warren, it's her home state. It kind of is like, why am I in this race if I can't win my home state? And it also feels like, yeah, if Elizabeth Warren put her support behind her good friend Bernie Sanders, he would have won. Now, here's the thing. Warren's under no obligation to do that.
Yeah.
And I think it's not necessarily saying that like, oh, wow, it's a good thing that all these moderate types just fell in line behind Joe Biden and that Elizabeth, it's a bad thing that Warren didn't. I mean, it's if you think you should be president, you should
I want to
run.
go over some of this Warren data too, though, because I just sent you an article from 538 that we used back in December. And I know this is old data, but it's still the generalities expressed in the data I still think hold true. If you actually look at the data of whose people's second choice was.
How funny is that, too? Sanders was leading amongst Biden supporters. You think
Yeah.
that's the case now?
Yeah, seriously. Well, if you look at Sanders, okay, 30% of the people that are Sanders supporters said their second choice would be Warren. And you look at Warren supporters, and 31% of them say their second choice would be Sanders. But it goes even further. 23%, her second highest second choice for Warren supporters was Buttigieg, who dropped out. And if you look at Buttigieg's data, guess who his followers' number one second choice is Warren. So I could safely surmise from this data that probably about easily 40 to 45% of Elizabeth Warren supporters would have voted for Bernie Sanders had she decided to drop out of the race.
Oh, yeah.
And how many of these states, Cody?
Like 2 and 5 for sure.
Yeah. So how many of these states
We went through and looked. There's a couple.
would have gone for Bernie over Joe Biden if 45% of Elizabeth Warren's numbers were posted up on the board for Bernie Sanders?
True, but also keep in mind one other very important thing here.
Yeah.
Michael Bloomberg was also in the race still. He dropped out today and endorsed Joe Biden, but Michael Bloomberg was in the race. In that chart we showed before, 35% of Bloomberg supporters' second choice was Biden. I think the highest of anyone on the chart. So
Yeah.
that was also at play here. It wasn't that it. The one thing that's different for me, I'm sure Bloomberg has some history with Biden.
But the Bloomberg bump to
Yeah, no,
Biden
but I
would
was gonna
not
say
have been
what-
the same as the Warren bump to Bernie Sanders.
No, of course. But beyond that, what makes it more interesting to me, the Warren and Bernie thing, is, like I said, Warren and Bernie were like these, like famous friends. Like it was like a famous thing that they were friends with each other on the campaign trail. That I mean,
Just like Lenin and
it
Stalin
kind of-
said they were old Bolsheviks.
Whatever. Like I
What,
said,
dude?
the-
That's why they say comrade,
Okay.
dude. It's like fighting in the
Police,
trenches of the Red Army.
Police, don't care.
Red Army
Anyway,
makes you friends, buddy.
watching their relationship basically deteriorate over the past few months.
Hey,
and
we're
then
25 minutes
come
into
to a
recording.
head, kind of like on Super Tuesday, the way it did. That was not what I expected. I knew they were friends. I knew they're running against each other. It's politics. Anything goes. I get it. But we really did see them go from what Jim and Pam to a fractured relationship to the point now where it's like, dude, you think you think Bernie Sanders supporters were calling Elizabeth Warren a snake 2 months ago? What are they
Jeez,
calling her
man.
now when she definitely cost him Massachusetts? And as we brought up, you can probably extrapolate to other states she might have impacted him on. And they were at one point, I mean, like, seriously, they were good friends for a while. And, suddenly they're not even friends anymore, it seems like. But it's like, there really is no reason Warren stayed in yesterday aside from her own ego and it hurt Bernie. There was no other legit reason. There was no actual path to victory.
It's pride. It feels like pride.
It was seriously, but here's the thing. You would think, and I'm not going to shame anyone running for president for being prideful. Because, by the way, you're running for president, you're being prideful. But it is weird to see someone have a
But you
relationship
can't
sour
say-
to the point where they said, I won't even drop out for the betterment of you and what you believe in because I think we believe in the same thing.
Yeah.
That obviously wasn't there. It was, I still believe in me.
You can't say you're an ideological campaign that is trying to represent the best interests of the people when you dropping out would represent the best interests of the people you supposedly want to represent with your rubric of ideas.
And again, just to highlight to you guys how bad it was
It's
for Warren
hypocritical.
yesterday. I mean, here's Michael Bloomberg dropped out. Why didn't Warren? Like, seriously, Michael Bloomberg he performed roughly as well as Elizabeth Warren did,
Yeah.
and he embarrassingly just dropped out and said, "I support Joe Biden. I'm done with this. I'm over." Elizabeth Warren, like I said, the most recent words I have, maybe by the time you guys are watching this, she'll have just dropped out. I heard she's currently reassessing, but I also heard she has ads running through March 9th. I mean, like, I don't know what's going on with Elizabeth Warren, but it does seem weird to think of how much, and I think we all kind of saw it coming a bit, but just to think, at least Super Tuesday, I'm not going to say it pivoted or it hinged, but the deterioration of the Bernie Warren relationship, though, really did. I mean, you could argue it cost them both, right? Like, what if Bernie had endorsed Warren? Would she have won some of these states? But you see what I mean? Like,
yeah, I don't think the enthusiasm would have been there for
well, no,
Warren.
but just the way that relationship and that alliance just crumbled, fell apart, and they no longer were together, and they really were just two opposing forces. On Super Tuesday, we really saw what it was. Because here's a big thing, too. People say, if you give Warren's delegates to Bernie still doesn't like winning. That's not the bigger thing. The bigger thing is if Bernie had larger margin of victories in these states, larger delegate shares go to him. It's like, it's not necessarily like 1-to-1, like, oh, you won the state. These aren't winner-take-all states. I mean, look at a state like, I think Texas, for example, it's a slight win for Biden in Texas.
California's winner-take-all, right?
I don't believe in the primary, no.
But, oh, wait, yeah, you're right. No, it
would be in a general.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. I take that back. So, anyway, here, let's talk about the rest of this Super Tuesday.
Yeah. But sorry, I just want to highlight what I was saying. Just
okay.
Elizabeth Warren wasn't a huge player in Texas, but what I mean is, as far as just anything that would have changed Joe's margin of victory, could you see, like, it's a win for Joe in Texas. It's a 10-delegate win in a state with 200 delegates. Like, it's just she would have definitely played a part. I'm not going to say it changed the election. Bernie would have won if Warren supported him. It's just funny to see that Super Tuesday really did show us it mattered. It didn't mean nothing.
But if we missed some analysis, please let us know in the comments below. During the live stream yesterday, we had tons of new people join the channel with a hat giveaway we had. So shout out to everybody that joined the channel yesterday. If you haven't had a chance yet to join, or you weren't able to participate in the live stream yesterday, make sure you smash that join button. It's only like $5 a month or something like that. And it's a way to keep us corporate sponsor free and keep giving you these videos. Also make sure you follow us on PSP Radio 1 on Twitter. Cody is always,
one last thing before we wrap up.
Yeah.
Joe Biden literally just won Maine, so good for Joe.
Oh, okay. Wow. Right there in real time. You saw it here first on Problem Solver Politics. This is Problem Solver Politics. We'll see you guys in the next video. Wu-Tang!